St. Lucia reduces their bond deposit to get citizenship. This has just been done recently. I did some research on their actual bonds, and Moody's downgraded First Citizens Bank Limited to Baa2 outlook, which changed to negative. And this was in 2015, which was the last rating I could find for St. Lucia government bonds with Moody's. And Moody's is the most dependable rating service on rating bonds. The best three rating services to rate government bonds is Standard & Poor's, Fitch, and Moody's. Other than what I have mentioned, there's no current rating service that, to find except from a company that was called CareCris, which is a rating service I had never heard of before. But CareCris has assigned the ratings of, it's called Carib BBB, local and foreign currency on its regional scale, to the EC 404.5 million debt program consisting of notes and bonds of the government of St. Lucia. These ratings indicate that the level of credit worthiness of the instruments in this debt program were actually judged in relation to other obligations in the Caribbean. One, as far as adequacy. All right, I'm going to tell you a little bit as far as what I feel. I myself would never go into any government bonds that Moody's, Standard & Poor's, or Fitch did not rate. And if they were rated by these three companies, the current year would have to have at least a junk status rating or above. I wouldn't want anything that's under a junk status rating, or otherwise you run a pretty high risk of a default or a haircut on your investment. The new bond option that St. Lucia's come out with is as follows. This is what the changes were that were made, and this is valid through December the 31st, 2020. Prospective citizens will be able to qualify through the purchase of a new non-interest-bearing bond with a 5-year holding period called the COVID-19 Relief Bond for US $250,000 as opposed to the $500,000 under the conventional bond option. And this is for a single applicant. The government administration fee has also been reduced from $50,000 to $30,000 US dollars and is now only payable upon approval. For an applicant with one dependent, the actual bond purchase also amounts to $250,000 US dollars, but the holding period is extended to 6 years. And also the government administration fee is reduced from $50,000 to $30,000 US in this example also, and it's now only payable upon approval. For up to 4 dependents, the minimum bond purchase is either $250,000 at a 6-year holding period or $300,000 at a 5-year holding period, and a US $15,000 per additional dependent, while the holding period increases to 7 years. For any applications with more than 4 dependents, an additional US $15,000 bond investment applies. All right, now I'm going to give you my evaluation of the St. Lucia bond program, and it is as follows. The investment has been lowered from $500,000 to $250,000 US dollars. But remember, whenever you go in a government consistent program in the Caribbean that they issued, where they're issuing bonds at a low bond rating, which is a speculative emerging market, the promoters will usually tell you that these bonds are guaranteed, which in essence, it's backed by the government, but in technicality, it's not guaranteed. Bonds can go into default status, or you can have a haircut on the bonds, which pretty much could mean the same as a default. Because by the time the money's paid out, it's virtually nothing to begin with, depending on how they structure the haircut. I've done some research and have just read as an example where St. Kitts had issued government bonds that had matured about 10 or 12 years ago. And St. Kitts, I had read at that time, had one of the highest debt per capita of any country in the world. And I had read where there was not enough money to pay back the bondholders at the maturity date, which is a real shock to me. The article had stated instead of defaulting on the bonds, there would be a haircut done. Now, St. Kitts' debt has been reduced dramatically since they came out with the VAT to actually pay off a lot of their debt. But both countries are actually consisting of the EC dollar, and St. Lucia does have a lot of debt. So in fact, their debt has increased over the years. So instead of the client losing all his money with the default on the bonds, there would be a slice of, in this case with St. Kitts, what they did was they didn't want to go into a default status. So what they did was they took a haircut where I had read that 60% was taken off the top and the other 40% was paid out over a 25-year period at no interest. Now, I didn't see any other article that changed this, but when I contacted the Ministry of Finance in St. Kitts, I left about 5 messages and no one called me back on the matter or consulted with me on it. Regardless, it's not just the risk of the bonds paying off, but you will lose a lot in compound interest on your money because there's a zero interest paid out on the bonds. So you're guaranteed to lose money on the compound interest of your money alone, irregardless if there's a haircut or default on the bonds. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. The reason I say this is if you can get an 8% rate return on real estate, instead of going in a bond, going into real estate as your investment to get citizenship, and with the rental income and the growth of your investment, that property, with the actual growth of the property, having an 8% rate of return will actually double your investment in 9 years using the rule of 72. That means if you invest $250,000 in real estate and you can get an 8% rate of return on your money, you would gain over $125,000 US dollars more in a 5-year period of time with your real estate than the government bond, not including the huge loss that you would incur if there was a default or a haircut on the actual government bonds alone. If the bonds do pull through and there's no default or haircut on the bonds, you would still only get back the investment that you actually put in, but you're guaranteed to lose money in compound interest. That's the problem that people don't foresee is the money they lose in compound interest over that term period. I myself would much rather go in real estate with a real estate option in getting citizenship in a place like St. Kitts instead of the bond program with St. Lucia, because your visa-free travel is a lot better with St. Kitts than going through St. Lucia. And you know 100% that with the bond option in St. Lucia, that even if there's no default or haircut on the St. Lucia bond, you're still guaranteed to lose on compound interest on the bond program with St. Lucia. Anyway, if you want to learn more on how to legally get your taxes to zero, how to get a second passport as quick as 3 months, do 3 things. Hit the subscribe button to the right of your screen and you'll get new videos as they come out automatically. And you can go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and you can get more information on how to do this. You just go to the top bar where it says apply with us, and then your questions will come up. Just fill those out and then hit send to us, and we'll get back with you and try to help you out from there. And number 2 is I'd like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below and I'll get back with you. And like I say, we don't deal with just St. Kitts or St. Lucia. We deal with about 74 citizenship by investment, residency by investment countries. Other than these, I think you'd be interested in and looking into if you're not interested in these. But I like St. Kitts actually probably better than any other type of citizenship by investment because of the number of visa-free countries that you can go to. It covers all the Schengen countries. And it also checks all the boxes. You get dual citizenship, no income tax, no estate tax, no inheritance tax, no capital gains tax. It's just got everything that you want, and it's an English-speaking country. This is the thing I like about that. The bond program, like I said, it's a lot more risk than what you think. And real estate, it's very difficult for you to lose 100% in real estate. That's the key if you own the property yourself. And that's why I like real estate over these bonds, and you're going to lose money on the bonds. Anyway, thanks for looking at the video, and I look forward to talking to you on the next one. Take care.